Earlier this year, I told the story of Newberg, Oregon vineyard manager Moises Sotelo, who had lived in the United States for 3 decades, was abducted by ICE and then deported to Mexico. Sotelo is a much respected member of the Oregon winery community. He lived here for decades, ran a successful business, raised his family here. ICE snatched him with no warning. Their claim at the time, if I remember correctly, was that there was a decades-old arrest for something to do with cannabis, although reporters here in Oregon at the Oregonian and OPB couldn't find that arrest record, much less a conviction. Nonetheless, Donald Trump's ICE deported Sotelo to Mexico. And I just saw that there's an update to this story about 3 hours ago. The Guardian posted a new piece entitled "A Vineyard Manager's Deportation Shattered an Oregon Town. Now his daughter is carrying on his legacy." It's by Cy Neff. I do want to remind folks that Newberg, Oregon is a very conservative community. You may remember Newberg in the news back in 2021 when the Newberg School Board banned teachers or school staff from displaying the gay pride flag or any symbols associated with Black Lives Matter. The teachers union had to sue over it, and in 2023, a judge declared that the ban on these symbols was unconstitutional, and so the school board had to rescind their policy. The county where Newberg is located went a little bit over 51% for Donald Trump and about 2% for RFK Jr. in the 2024 election. I think that context is really important because a majority of voters in that county voted for Moises to be abducted and deported, even though afterward they had a tremendous amount of regret for it because he was a valued member of their community. They were like, "Oh, we didn't mean Moises. We didn't mean our neighbors. We didn't mean folks who are business owners, churchgoers who have lived here for decades. We thought Donald Trump just meant like violent criminals and gang members." That's never what he meant. He never had that intention. So if you're not happy, folks in Newberg, with what happened to Moises, if you're not happy with the way your neighbors are being abducted, maybe reconsider who you're supporting, because Donald Trump's minion, Stephen Miller, maybe he's his puppet master, Stephen Miller, said all the way back in May that ICE was to prioritize non-criminals, snatching 3,000 of them a week. They have been overt, out in the open, very public since May that their priority is non-criminals. Fewer than 5% of people abducted by ICE have any conviction for any kind of violent crime at all. 95+% of people abducted by ICE in 2025, including people here applying for asylum, going through the legal asylum process, including people going through the legal green card process, including wives of veterans in this, multiple wives of veterans, including one who is breastfeeding an 8-week-old child when she was snatched. American citizens, including more than a dozen American citizen children, have been exiled illegally from the United States by ICE. Folks like Moises, who have been paying their taxes, running their businesses, committing no crimes in this country, are being abducted by ICE. And private corporations like Avelo Airlines, CoreCivic, Geo Group are making tens of billions of dollars. That's all our taxpayer money. Those are all government contracts inflicting a reign of terror all across this country. Carrying out an ethnic cleansing is big business. It's big capitalism in the United States. But is it making us great? Is this the kind of America that we envisioned? Is this what y'all were hoping for? The update today in The Guardian of Moises' story says Alondra Sotelo Garcia saw the same headlines as everybody else. Masked immigration agents making increasingly bold arrests, illegal arrests. Community members disappearing without warning. No warrants. They are taking people without warrants. It's illegal. As the middle child of immigrants, she feared for her parents. She started tracking her father's iPhone location, put in her 2 weeks notice at her job, and told her father she wanted to start working at the vineyard management company he founded after decades in the wine industry. "Hey, I think I need to step in now with you, Dad, and help you and learn," Alondra told her father. "If something happens, are you just going to leave 9 people without a job?" That's right. Moises is an employer. He provides good paying jobs for people here in Oregon. Just days later, He called from an immigration and customs enforcement facility in Portland, and his message was simple. You know what to do. By the way, these private corporations like Geo Group and CoreCivic, they charge immigrants a huge amount of money to make these phone calls, and then they make them work to pay it off. So it's basically slave labor, not unlike our for-profit prison system. Anyway, so Alondra ended up taking over her dad's business in the last few months. Moises was detained in June. He was, according to The Guardian and all of the other reporting I have found on this, a pillar of the Oregon wine industry. His arrest sparked a national outcry and a flood of community support, but it was not enough to stop Sotelo from being deported by Donald Trump's ICE back in July. Alondra's mother, Irma, soon voluntarily left to join him. These are families being torn apart. These are businesses being destroyed. These are communities being ripped asunder for no reason. No, that's not true. The reason is so these businesses can make an awful lot of money and so that Donald Trump can advance his authoritarian agenda. It's not good for us, the American people. It's good for these wealthy businessmen. It's good for fascism. So now Alondra is trying to learn to run her dad's business, and she is just one of many Americans who have seen their parents deported this year during the Trump regime's relentless immigration crackdown. She and others have been left to stitch their families together again and carry on the legacy of what their parents built, often on a moment's notice. Sometimes I don't even know what the hell I'm doing with work, Alondra said this winter. I haven't been doing this for 30 plus years like my dad has. I'm not going to bring 30 years of experience into 3 months. Not only is Alondra trying to learn the business, keep her dad's 9 employees employed, serve the vineyards here in Oregon, but also her parents are back in Mexico, a country that they have not lived in for 3 decades, and they have to find housing down there. They have bills, they have expenses, they have to try and integrate themselves. Like, this is just all such unnecessary expense and hardship. She's trying to support her parents down there, run a business here. She's also trying to take care of her younger brother who just turned 18. Dave Spector, co-owner of Bells Up Winery, worked with Moises for years. Here was a guy who was a dad and a business owner and an employer and an elder in his church, Spector said. This is the kind of guy you want your children to grow up to be. So when we lose these people, it does nothing but make our society worse. It's not just the social cost, it's not just the ethical cost. If you want to be really mercenary about it, it's also the economic cost. What Donald Trump is doing is not only immoral, it is also bad for our economy. It's bad for Oregonians. It's bad for this nation as a whole, our prosperity, our security. The article goes on to say wine sales around the globe are the lowest they have been since 1961, which paints a grim picture for the Willamette Valley's saturated market of more than 700 wineries. And the food industry as a whole has been upended by ICE raids. In August, an Oregon cherry farmer told CNN he lost about a quarter of his crop. In California, crops were unpicked in the fields. I read that some farmers lost as much as 60% of their fruit crops this year because immigrants were either afraid to show up and pick because ICE has been raiding in the fields, or they had already been snatched. There is a massive labor shortage. Not only that, but there are massive tariffs on many of the fertilizers and mechanical components that farmers need in order to run their farms. Bubba King, a Yamhill County commissioner, speaking on his own behalf, said that the raids have affected not just the winery, but the whole region. It will affect every piece of our community the longer this goes. I know kids that are afraid to go to school. I know parents that are having to stay home from work because their kids are too young to stay home by themselves and they're afraid to go to school. All of these actions are having a ripple effect on our local economy, said Miriam Vargas Corona, executive director for Unidos Bridging Community. Businesses and industries that make Yamhill County vibrant depend on full participation of our immigrant and Latinx community members. Please tell me what part of this is making America great again. Please tell me what part of what ICE is doing makes any sense at all for anybody, except for a few very wealthy men who run these businesses that have lucrative ICE contracts. Please tell me how any of this is helping any working class person in this country. It's costing us tens of billions of taxpayer dollars. It's hurting our economy. It is empowering and enabling Stephen Miller to advance his horrible authoritarian agenda as he pulls Donald Trump's strings. Tell me, what part of this is making us great?